What's up, adventurers? My name is Platinum Phoenix, and welcome back to Fossil Fighters Champions. Last time, we finished the largest overarching side quest in the entirety of the post-game. And this time, we are going to be doing the Champions Cup, or in other words, the last leg of the Calisteo Super Cup, which is actually why we are in the Bare Bones Brigade base, because this is where they are holding it for some reason. I guess it's because this is Joe's tournament, so he's like, oh, let's just use my own evil base and we'll just put it there. But we just need to talk to this staff member. A new fossil stadium has been built, and we're holding a tournament to commemorate the event. As the reigning Calisteo Cup champ, Phoenix, we'd be thrilled to have you enter. Sure, I'll enter. Please allow me to explain the rules. You know, it's weird that you have me enter before telling me how to do this, but sure. The champion is required to battle challengers until there are none remaining. Also, the champion is not permitted to change teams, so make sure you enter your best Vivisaurs. If you are ready, please enter through the door to your left. Alright, well, I guess there's no time better than now to enter for battle. Welcome to the Champions Cup. Ha ha ha, you look surprised to see me. It's time to show you how a staff leader battles. Alright, getting into this fight with Stella. It's actually really cool that they give us a chance to fight against the staff leaders of all three of the islands, or all the islands. But if I'm being honest, the Champions Cup is actually easier than both the cranial isle leg of the cup and Ilium Island version of the cup, because both of those restrict your Vivisaurs a lot more than this does. This is just like, yeah, use whatever team you want, fight to your heart's content. And the other two were like, oh, you're not allowed to use super evolvers. You're not allowed to use specific Vivisaurs that are not part of different eras. You're not allowed. You have to use these very specific Vivisaurs. And it was like a lot of different restrictions on your team building, rather than just letting you do whatever, like the main story or this. Technically, even the version in Ribular Town is harder than this, because they force you to fight with only carnivores, which is not difficult to do. Carnivores are everywhere. In fact, my entire team is carnivores except for Harpy. But it did mean that I wasn't able to use Harpy in those fights, taking away the option of my really good support effect. So I just think these are easier fights than basically every other tournament we have done so far, especially when you factor in stuff like the ice mechanics in Ilium Village and stuff like that. It's a lot easier than all of that. The only difficult part that I would say may be in this is that they are using a lot more super evolvers in this than you would see a normal fighter use. Because even she had 2 super evolvers in Tesla and the super evolver of Igwa that I'm forgetting the name of now. But yeah, I just don't find these fights challenging. But we are going to take out her Tesla right here. I was really hoping to take it out last turn, so I wouldn't have to deal with it this one, but so be it. And then the last thing she has is a Kamara, and I really don't think the Kamara is going to be very difficult to take out. It's going to stay in the back because it is a long-range Vivisaur, I believe. And it has LP recovery, but it doesn't really have that much else going for it, except for its ability to give random status effects. So I think this shouldn't last more than 2 more turns, if I'm thinking about it correctly. So she's using Chimera Buster, which does 48 damage to Rock. I'm surprised she attacked Rock and not Harpy, Because if they could take out Harpy, it would actually make us a lot less powerful. But we're just going to Lordly Buster, and hopefully, can we take it out with this Lordly Buster? 105, 133. No, it's close, but no, it's not enough. And yep, there's the auto LP recovery coming in, giving her 30 LP back every turn because she gets 5% back of her max life points, which is actually an interesting skill. I just don't find auto LP recovery that helpful in the long run of things because it really relies on you taking damage and then living for a while after taking the damage. And if your opponent knows what they're doing, that won't happen a whole ton of the time. But we are doing 180 to it. How much LP does this thing have left? 59. So we're going to rotate forward once. And I am going to Raptor combo and hopefully take this thing out. It's 82 and 97. And with that, that is Stella's team taking out fairly easily, honestly. Even her Super Evolve has only got one hit. And for winning, we get 50 points. And I actually really like this cup because it's fight after fight after fight, and there's really no dead time in between. But hey, look who's here. It's the champ in the flesh. I've wanted to battle you for a long time, so let's have some fun. All right, getting into this battle with Terry. We are outfed by a ton, but at this point, what else is new? But I actually want to use this fight against Terry to talk about how each of the staff leaders of the different islands are actually type specialists. As you can see, Terry here is a fire type specialist, and Stella last battle was an air type specialist. And spoiler alert, Kent is a water type specialist. But I actually want to talk about how each of their type specialties are used to subvert expectations based on how other type specialists act and are instead used in a different way. And to give an example, think of Todd, who is an air type specialist, except for his final battle. And it is used very well to show how Todd is very easily swayed throughout the story. Todd is very left and right about his decisions throughout the story. And it's mostly due to the fact of his fear that he changes so often. But his air types really show how the type specialties actually work to show his personality, even if you just know what type of Vivisaurs he used. Think of the phrase blowing in the direction of the wind or changing with the direction of the wind. And the same can be said for fire type specialists like Pauline and Rosie, who have more brash or uptight personalities or more like upfront in your face type of personalities. Especially like Pauline when she had her mask on. She was very much like, oh, I'm beautiful, I'm the top idol, I'm the best. And it could very much be described as having a quote-unquote fiery personality, which makes sense since they are both fire-type specialists, and it works very well to show their personalities. But the last type I actually want to talk about are water-type specialists, or more specifically, Rupert, which is the big water-type specialist we know. And water-type specialists are shown to be more calmer and subdued characters. Rupert's a very no-nonsense kind of guy for most of the game until you actually befriend him, and then he actually starts to open up. But for most of the game, he's shown to be very much more subdued as a character and less of a like upfront in your face type of character. Think of like Calm Waters. But I also want to talk about how, like I said, each of the staff leaders actually subvert those expectations because none of them actually act like what I just described each of the type specialists that act like. Stella, being an air type specialist, is not easily swayed. In fact, she's very steadfast in her beliefs, especially in times like when Zanga Zanga was controlling Joe Wild West and we were fighting against him, and she was very sure that Joe Wild West was still Joe Wild West and was fine fighting for him. Or think of Terry. He's not very brash or uptight at all. In fact, he's very easygoing for a good portion of the game. He only really is upfront in your face whenever Zanga Zanga takes over, and he's trying to stop you as a staff leader. But every other time, he's very easygoing and a very calm character. And then finally, there's Kent, the water type specialist, who I would not call calm or subdued as a character. In fact, he would be more of the brash character that I would think of, or the surfer dude kind of character that is more go with the flow and less subdued as a character. But I actually think they have their type specialties, not because of their personalities per se, but actually because of the islands that they are the leaders of. So Stella has air type because she is in Rivular Island, which has Treasure Lakes, which has a ton of air types in it, as well as the Jungle Labyrinth. And then we have Terry here, who is the leader of Ilium, or not Ilium, is the leader of Cranial Isle, which has Mount Krakenak, the home of fire types. And then finally we have Kent, which is the leader of Ilium Island, which again is just home of so many water types that it's not even funny. And it makes a lot of sense that they would have the type specialties that they have just because of the locations that they are in. But I also want to bring up, because I haven't brought up Earth or Neutral type specialists, because there are no Earth type specialists that I can think of. And the only Neutral type specialist is actually the Digger robot in Mount Krakenak when we fight against it after it takes Rupert's medals. And it uses all Neutral type Vivisaurs, showing that the robot does not have a type specialty, which I think is actually pretty funny. But with this last Lordly Buster, we should be able to take out this Dimorph Ace, and you know what? Or not. I guess we could just miss and make this prolonged. Dimorph Ace, can you just die? Can you do the first half of your name? And unfortunately, Harpy has been taken out of commission for like half of this fight. I think I'm just going to Lordly Buster again, because if this hits, it should take it out. Okay, good. It actually hit that time, and we actually take it out. And that is the end of Terry's fight. And for beating Terry, we get 60 points. Well, little dude, I wasn't sure you'd still be here. Well, you may have shredded Stella and Terry, but I'm gonna end your day right here. Alright, take it on, Kent. And for the first time in what feels like 3 or 4 episodes, we finally get to go first again. And I think this first turn is a pretty obvious first turn. I want to just take out that Marple in the back. And since it only has 150 LP, it should be fairly easy to take out. So I think we are just going to Tephlosaur it and try to take it out, because it has really good support effects, and I really don't want to have to deal with it. And yeah, that's a dead Marple right there. Like I said, it's a fairly obvious first move in this fight, but I think it's one of the better options in trying to fight them. Because yeah, her other Super Evolver has, again, really good support effects, especially if you want to tank. But having the really good overall support effects, I think, was better to take out in the long run. And I'm not super scared of Berta to begin with. I mean, it has decent support effects, so I think I'm going to try to take out this Gargaron next, actually, because it decided to sit in front of me with minus 10% of its defense. and I have plus 69% attack. So let's go ahead and see if Tefla Sword can just take this out right here. I know it has like a lot of LP. I believe this thing has 600 LP. But we did 630, which I was not expecting. And all that's left is Berta. This might possibly be the easiest fight we'll have all episode. Because I think it's literally going to be 3 turns and we'll finish this fight. As long as you don't confuse me. Okay, thank you. I was really concerned that it was going to confuse me. But I don't really see a way that this thing can survive this. It has 520. So I think what we're going to do is inflame Zephyr. And then we are going to Tefla scale it. And then if we need to after that, we can always rotate to the front and Raptor combo it too. But with 720 damage, there's no need. We did 200 more damage than it had LP. That's crazy. And for beating Kent, we get 70 points. Leaving us with only 1 challenger left. Never thought I'd see the day where I'd battle one of my own parts. It's an honor to go to war against you. Now let's make this a battle to remember. What are you talking about, Joe? We literally fought last episode. I know you're scripted to say this, but it's 1 episode. Right, getting into our fight with Joe Wild West again. Again, we are getting outsped. But this is the exact same team he had last episode when we fought him. And there's only one change, and that is that Terra no longer has a silver leg fossil. It actually has a golden fossil now, giving it stats and giving it extra stats in every single one of its stats instead of just a couple. But I don't know how to feel about this team because last episode I was gushing about it a lot because it's very thematic and very central to what makes Joe Wild West Joe Wild West. But the thing is, those 2 side quests can get done in any order. Either you could do all of the Calisteo Super Cup first, or you could fight all of the other characters around the islands first. So it's really up to your interpretation of which of these fights is first. But I really feel like they should have given him a different team for at least one of them. I don't know which one is more climactic. Whichever one you feel is more climactic is the one that I feel like should have this team. So if you say that fighting him in his tower after going around and fighting all of your friends and seeing what everyone has been doing around the island since the end of the Zanga Zanga arc is more climactic, or if you think literally the ending of the Calisteo Super Cup where it's you fought everyone you know, you've gone through all 12 rounds so far, and got to this 13th final boss of the Calisteo Super Cup on the island that he used to run is the more climactic ending. I would say that this should be his fight for this. I just don't know which I consider more important to him, honestly. But other than that, I feel like he should have used more of the starters. I feel like his one fight when he used Heracles and Terra, he should have used Bolgon, which is the evolved form of Simtao still. But I feel like, no, I don't want to end turn yet. I want to rotate back. But I feel like his second fight, whichever is less climactic, should have been the other 3 starters. It should have been the Tefla, the Equinus, and the Lugmas that he had for the last fight that you do with him, or for the second fight that you do with him. Because he had access to all 4 starters, and if they're not going based off of what starter you go off of, they should make it so that it is he uses all 4 of them at some point during the game. And I think that would have been a much better, like, climactic fight instead of just having the same team twice, which is honestly kind of dull. But this fight is not going to last very much longer. We're going to once again strike Bolgon to the sun with Obsidian here because they just keep putting Bolgon right in front of him for some reason. And that just leaves Terra, and I don't really think I want to try using Rock right here because it is enraged right now. But I do think it's still only going to be one turn before this guy is taken out. They're going to try to rotate me. Do they get it off? They do not. And then I think we just Lordly Buster here and hope that this takes it out. So we bite and we flip. And how much damage does it do? 111, 141, and not quite enough. And miss. I think I'm going to try to attack again, except this time I'll rotate Rock to the front to give it the extra 10% to its accuracy. And hopefully, Rock, you hit through this. God damn it, Rock, you had one job. Well, that means one more turn. All right, Terra, you get one more turn. What do you got for me? You should have been taken out that turn. Rock. All right, I don't care who you enraged this turn. All three of my Vivosaurs have plenty of attacks that can hit with 225 FP, and I don't think you can stop this any way you try. So we're just going to punch you and end this fight right here. The other thing for this leg of the Calcio Super Cup, or the finale of the Calcio Super Cup, is that it's really good for trading because they give you 80 points, and you get like 3 levels for this if you have a really good 3 team to take it on. The event was a smashing success thanks to you. I can certainly see how you became the reigning champion. Anyway, please accept the prize set as a reward for your skill. And we get the Mini Stella icons, the Mini Terry icon, the Mini Kent icon, the Mini Joe icon, and the head mask. As well as our final fighter level up to rank or level 20. Having maximum FP recharge of 230 and maximum FP max of 900. Finally allowing us to fight on pace with every other fighter we have taken on in the post-game. This concludes all of our Fossil Stadium tourneys. However, I'm sure there are plenty of fighters who would love to challenge the champion. So, the last thing we need to do is head back to Ribular Town and see these new icons we just got. Alright, Ike, we have one more trip to you. Let's see these new icons we just got. We have 23 pages of icons now. That's insane. But we also only get the mini versions of the island staff leaders, which kind of stinks since every other, I guess, final round of the Super Cup that we did gave us the mini version as well as a larger version of them. But I guess this also gave us all 3 of the island staff leaders as well as Joe. Plus, we already got Joe's other icon last episode. So we got Mini Terry, Mini Stella, and Mini Kent and Mini Joe. All of them look pretty good. Basically, again, just small versions of the characters or chibi versions of the characters. But I think they all are pretty good icons in their own right. But I think that's going to do it for this episode. So I hope that everyone enjoyed watching. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Next time, we are going over the lost bonus data for Fossil Fighters Champions. Or should I say, the not so lost bonus data. But until then, happy adventuring.